Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So what are the symptoms you might experience with the P0122 code? The most obvious one is the check engine light illuminating on your dash, but you'll likely feel it in how the bike rides too. You might notice poor or erratic idling, where the bike struggles to maintain a steady RPM at a stop. Hesitation or stumbling during acceleration is another big one. You twist the throttle, expecting that smooth rush of power, but instead, the bike might sputter or lag before it picks up speed. In more severe cases, you could experience a significant loss of power, making the bike feel sluggish and unresponsive. Some riders even report that the engine stalls, especially when coming to a stop or at low speeds, essentially because the ECM is getting bad information about your throttle hand. It can't manage the engine properly, leading to all sorts of performance issues. Now, let's talk about the potential causes. What makes this P0122 code pop up? There are a few usual suspects. The most common cause is simply a faulty throttle position sensor. These sensors can wear out over time. They have internal components that move with the throttle, and eventually, that constant movement can cause them to fail or develop dead spots. Another very common culprit is a wiring issue. The wires leading to and from the TPS can get damaged. They might be frayed, pinched, or corroded, especially near the connector. A poor connection at the sensor's plug can also be the problem. Vibration and exposure to the elements can cause the pins to loosen or get dirty, interrupting the signal. Less common, but still possible, is a problem with the ECM itself. While it's rare for the ECM to be the source of the problem, it can happen. That's why we usually check the sensor and wiring first. Alright, let's get our hands dirty and talk about how to diagnose and fix this P0122 code. First things first, a visual inspection is key. Look closely at the throttle position sensor, which is usually located on the throttle body. Examine the wiring harness connected to it. Are there any visible signs of damage, like chafed wires or a cracked connector? Wiggle the connector a bit to see if it's loose. Sometimes, just unplugging it, cleaning the contacts with some electrical contact cleaner, and plugging it back in securely can solve the problem. If the visual inspection doesn't reveal anything obvious, the next step is to test the sensor itself. For this, you'll be checking the voltage signals from the sensor. Typically, a TPS has 3 wires. A 5-volt reference wire from the ECM, a ground wire, and a signal wire that sends voltage back to the ECM. With the ignition on but the engine off, you should see a steady 5 volts on the reference wire. The signal wire's voltage should change smoothly as you slowly twist the throttle. At closed throttle, it might be around half a volt, and at wide open throttle, it should be up around 4.5 volts. The key here is smoothly. If you see the voltage jump around erratically or drop to 0 at any point as you twist the throttle, you've likely found a bad spot in the sensor, and it needs to be replaced. If the wiring looks good and the sensor tests bad, replacing it is the solution. If the sensor tests good, then you need to dig deeper into the wiring harness, checking for continuity and looking for any breaks or shorts between the sensor and the ECM. If both the sensor and the wiring check out perfectly, that's when you might start to suspect a problem with the ECM. But again, that's the least likely scenario. Replacing ATPs is a fairly straightforward job for most DIY mechanics. Once you've replaced the sensor or fixed the wiring, clear the code and take the bike for a test ride to make sure the problem is gone and the check engine light stays off. And that's a wrap on diagnosing and fixing the P0122 code on your Harley. It can seem intimidating, but with a logical approach and a few basic tools, it's a very manageable issue. Remember to start with the simplest things first, like checking the wiring and connectors before jumping to replace parts. I hope this guide helps you get your bike back on the road and running smoothly. If you found this video helpful, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. And for more Harley tech tips and maintenance guides, make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you do only miss our next video. Ride safe, and thanks for watching.